practically a brother.
We're doing very strong background checks, very strong emphasis on the mental health of somebody.
The world is mourning the loss of one of the most influential people in history. The Reverend Billy Graham died at his North Carolina home.
His ministry and his matchless voice changed the lives of millions and inspired our nation.
Hello, CPAC. How y'all doing? To have the president back and the vice president back 2 years in a row, this is history.
Let's talk about where a more serious structure might be necessary, where fencing will do, where mowing the grass so that people can't be smuggled through the grass.
A very good morning to all of you out there in TV land. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday morning. I'm Todd Pyro, in for Heather Childers. All right, straight to a Fox News alert breaking overnight. An attacker blows himself up after throwing a grenade at the U.S. Embassy in Montenegro. Nobody was hurt, and there is no major damage to the building. The U.S. State Department says embassy officials are working with police to identify that dead suspect. A motive is not yet known. Americans are being asked to stay away from the embassy until further notice. To another alert now, police officers lining the streets saluting an officer who made the ultimate sacrifice to save a neighbor in need. Corporal Mushahid Ramzadeen was off duty when he was shot and killed trying to help a woman threatened by her estranged husband.
He was not working, needing help. He immediately responded to that plea for help, but he saved her life by giving his own.
The suspect, Glenn Tyndall, killed in a shootout with police. Ramzadeen is remembered as a Marine Corps veteran, 14-year veteran of the force, and Medal of Valor recipient. He leaves behind a wife and 4 children. His death coming just 12 hours after Alabama officer Justin Billa was shot and killed on the job. At least 15 officers have already died in the line of duty. This year, we're not even through February. Moments ago, survivors of the Florida shooting massacre returning home, those students turning their grief into change, pushing state lawmakers for stricter gun control after 17 of their classmates and teachers were murdered. Brian Yanis is live in Coral Springs, Florida, with a closer look at their journey. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. Well, imagine this. You just went through the most horrific incident you'll probably ever go through. You could even ever imagine. And a week later, you're still burying classmates and friends, and you decide to go to Tallahassee for action for the greater good. And now you've come back, a 14-hour trip to Tallahassee and back the Capitol to lobby lawmakers for stricter gun control. 3 buses with nearly 100 students from Stoneman Douglas High School arriving back home after they were at the Capitol, lobbying these lawmakers to do something, anything, steps to keep guns from getting into the hands of people that should not have them. Now, this is just one of the buses that came in. We were here when one of the students, or some of the students on this first bus of 3, we're still waiting 2 more, embraced with their parents. They're still in pajamas. Everyone's still dazed. The morning still hasn't really hit in terms of what they have to go through. We were here when Melanie Weber, a 16-year-old junior, she embraced with her father. She just got off the bus. This is what she had to say.
Most of the lawmakers that I met with were Democrats, so they were all pretty supportive of our movement. But the Republicans that I did meet with, they were very open to the idea of possibly making stricter gun laws.
So not only were these students in the capital of Tallahassee yesterday lobbying these lawmakers and speaking to the governor, Rick Scott, but there were also thousands outside of the Capitol in Tallahassee also lobbying gun reform activists that were out there as well. The governor here, Rick Scott, tweeted last night that he says that he's going to release his plan on Friday morning, that is tomorrow morning, as to how he believes the state should go after guns, seeing that those who are mentally ill should not be able to get them. But right now, the bus is now arriving this morning as these students who have just had a whirlwind of a week return home, many of them really beginning to grieve for the first time as they continue their whirlwind week of not only mourning, but continuing to take action. Todd.
It's unreal how all their lives have changed in just the last 7 days. Brian, thank you very much. President Trump gathering with students and families at the White House for an emotional listening session on the rise of gun violence in our nation. Several students sharing heartbreaking stories about the school shooting in Florida.
Nothing ever that horrible should ever have to happen to you.
I was lucky enough to come home from school, maybe compromise on some solutions, so this never has to, no child, no person in this world will ever have to go something through so horrific.
The father of Meadow Pollock, who was killed at Douglas High, speaking out in an emotional plea for change.
Should have been one school shooting, and we should have fixed it. And I'm pissed, because my daughter I'm not going to see again. She's not here.
President Trump reassuring the group that he is looking to make changes.
We're going to be very strong on background checks. We're going to be doing very strong background checks. Very strong emphasis on the mental health of somebody. It's not going to be talk like it has been in the past. We're going to get it done.
In other news, the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, kicking off celebrating President Trump's agenda. Tonight, Vice President Pence and other big names will take the stage before President Trump steps up to the microphone tomorrow. Griff Jenkins live for us outside the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland, with a preview. Good morning, Griff.
Hey, Todd, good morning. It is the Conservative Political Action Conference, and it began in 1974. It's hands down the largest gathering of conservatives anywhere in the country. And President Trump was the first sitting president to come here since Ronald Reagan. He will be back this year. There's a lot of energy here. And here is the president of CPAC, Matt Schlapp, talking about the significance of President Trump's visit. Take a listen.
To have the president back and the vice president back 2 years in a row, this is history. Donald Trump ran as a conservative, but some conservatives were dubious about how he would govern. Clearly, the president's agenda is conservative, and he's gotten more accomplishments than conservatives have seen in a decade.
And what's fascinating about that soundbite, Todd, is that it was just a few years ago that CPAC didn't want Donald Trump. They didn't believe he was a conservative. But now, after achieving tax cut, a central tenet to the conservative movement, and of course, so many other ideas, President Trump has really won this crowd over. And Vice President Pence, a traditional conservative, will speak here. He's kicking things off in just a few hours. And here's a list of speakers that you've also got. You've got Marine Le Pen, the niece of Marine Le Pen and the granddaughter of Marie Le Pen. She's drawing some controversy because many view her as a liberal, not a true conservative. Her message apparently will be to bring conservatism to both sides of the Atlantic. You've got Don McGahn, the president's personal attorney, as well as Ted Cruz and Betsy DeVos. And DeVos, of course, the educational secretary. This conference attracts young people. Here is Matt Schlapp again on the young people that will hear these speakers.
You can sense it with all the kids who are there. You know, CPAC, 50% of the crowd is college-aged or younger. We're attracting new people and new voices to the movement. For one main reason is they felt real buyer's remorse with Barack Obama. Even people who voted for him felt real buyer's remorse. Now they're looking at the Democrats, and the Democrats are just about hashtag resistance.
And we've heard young people across the country talking about the gun control debate. Well, that will be front and center here when it kicks off in just a few hours, Todd.
Griff's got a busy day ahead of him. Griff Jenkins live for us in Maryland. Thanks, Griff. An outpouring of love as the world mourns the loss of evangelist pastor Billy Graham.
Jesus said there are two roads. There's the broad road that leads to destruction and judgment, and there's the other road that leads to heaven. If you remember nothing that I say tonight, except one thing I want you to remember: God loves you.
Such a simple and powerful message. The 99-year-old Christian icon and counselor to presidents passing away in his sleep. The public can pay respects at the Billy Graham Library in North Carolina on Monday and Tuesday. A private funeral is scheduled for next Friday. Graham remembered by supporters for his faith and impact on the world.
He was sort of unconsciously humorous, but he had a remarkable sense of humor. And here's one other thing, too. He took God very seriously, but he never ever took himself too seriously. And I think that gave him a humanness that was very, very relatable to all of us.
Billy Graham touched the world. His ministry reached to all corners of the earth. His legacy, though, really is not so much in looking back, but it's looking forward, not only for him in eternity, but the fact that he has poured his life into so many people.
I think most of the people who ever heard his message today can say we offer profound condolences to his family, but profound gratitude to God that this man showed up on planet Earth to point the way to millions of people to the knowledge of Christ.
President Trump remembering Graham on Twitter, writing, "There was nobody like him. He will be missed by Christians and all religions. A very special man." Vice President Mike Pence saying Billy Graham's ministry for the gospel of Jesus Christ and his matchless voice changed the lives of millions. He will be missed. Time now, 11 minutes after the hour. A shocking plot just revealed. ISIS trying to take down a passenger plane. How hackers helped thwart that attack. And a brand new breakthrough giving hope to millions of Americans. Dr. Mark Siegel taking a closer look at a new study that could be the answer to peanut allergies. And she's back. Apparently, we don't need a border wall if we just mow the lawn.
We're mowing the grass so that people can't be smuggled through the grass. And that's something about levees, technology, personnel.
Solid music choice, Kim Kern. Everything she does truly is magic. Nancy Pelosi's brand new comment that's turning heads this morning when Fox and Friends First on a Thursday morning continues.
Get new floors during Empire Today's gigantic.
From bump stocks to background checks, President Trump calling for action following the Florida high school massacre.
We're going to be very strong on background checks. We're going to be doing very strong background checks. Very strong emphasis on the mental health of somebody. It's not going to be talk like it has been in the past. It's been going on too long, too many instances, and we're going to get it done.
We are also learning the president is now considering raising the minimum age to purchase semi-automatic weapons from 18 to 21. But is it a good idea? Here now to debate it, attorney with U.S. Shield Law, Emily Taylor, and the director of Guns Down, Igor Volsky. Thanks so much for getting up so early with us. Igor, I begin with you. Why do you like the idea of raising the age limit?
Well, I like the idea of moving towards fewer guns, period. The problem is the more guns we have, the more gun crimes we have. That's just the fact when you look at states that have loose gun regulations, they have more gun crimes. So if we really want to solve this problem, we got to move to a place with fewer guns. We got to talk about bold solutions like federal licensing, like training, and ultimately not only raising the age, but also banning assault weapons altogether.
Emily, I'm assuming you disagree with every single point he just made.
Yes, and I'll start with this notion that the states that have loose or permissive gun laws have more crime. I think that the only thing that we need to do is look to Baltimore, look to Chicago, and see these microcosms of what the country would look like as a whole if we had those sorts of ultra-restrictive gun laws. So that's one issue right there. Another issue I have is that an AR-15 is not some inherently dangerous or evil weapon. It is a tool like any other firearm is a tool, and increasing the age so that people between the ages of 18 and 20 can no longer purchase a long gun is it's swatting a fly with a sledgehammer. It really is curtailing the rights of millions of people in this country in order to solve, I think, no more than one issue we've had with the actions of one deranged individual.
Emily, I want to have you respond to this argument. The federal age for buying a handgun is 21. Why shouldn't we raise